Hello everyone, this is Remlays from 40k Theories, and welcome to this new episode of 40k Lore for Newcomers. For this episode, we will be taking a brief look at the golden-clad warriors of the Custodes. As always, this is a brief overview, and certain events and such will have in-depth videos dedicated to them within the future. So without further ado, let's begin.
For every battle honour, 1,000 heroes die alone, unsung and unremembered.
The Custodes, also known as Custodians and the 10,000, are the personal bodyguards of the Emperor of Mankind. They also serve as the standing defensive military force within the Imperial Palace upon Terra. They are larger, stronger, and more skilled than the greatest warriors of the Space Marine chapters. If the warriors of the Adeptus Astartes are wolves, then the Custodians by comparison are lions. Unlike the chapters of the Adeptus Astartes, who number on average 1,000 warriors per chapter, the Custodes are a legion of elite highly trained demigods numbering 10,000 individuals. During the Great Crusade, the Custodes marched into battle alongside their emperor and brought many victories during that time, and would frequently operate alongside the Null Maidens of the Sisters of Silence, whose skills complemented those of the Custodes. Together, both forces would be known as the Talons of the Emperor. Following the events of the Horus Heresy, the Custodes remained within the Imperial Palace for close to 10,000 years, honouring their oath to protect the Master of Mankind, yet no longer concerned with marching to war except to defend the Imperial Palace. But with the return of Rabute Guilliman, Primarch of the Ultramarines and one of the Emperor's own sons, the Custodes, for the first time in millennia, now march to war, seeking to preemptively destroy any and all threats to their lord and master.
Praise the sun that brings the dawn of our final doom.
The Custodes were created prior to the events of the Great Crusade, during the Terran Unification Wars. When exactly they were founded is unknown, but what is known is that their recruiting pool was initially formed from the firstborn children of conquered nobles and warlords who had been given as tithes to the Emperor as he slowly united Terra under his rule. Even today within the present-day Imperium, those who are considered candidates for recruitment into the 10,000 are taken from the children of Terran aristocracy. To have one's child become one of the Custodians is a great and high honour for many of the noble houses upon Terra, and some families will even give up entire generations of children in order to receive it. Custodians are created through the use of what is, essentially, biological alchemy. The greatest bioalchemists and chirurgeons within the entire Imperium will toil away within Terra's laboratories in order to transmute a child into one of the Emperor's chosen. In addition to physical alteration, recruits are also subjected to thousands upon thousands of hours of intense psycho-conditioning, similar to what Space Marine neophytes themselves will undergo, but to a much greater degree. They will be taught every form of combat imaginable, every method of assassination, diplomacy, philosophy, history, and every conceivable way to kill to a degree that would render a genius in each of those particular fields as little more than an amateur by comparison. Their minds will also be trained to withstand the touch of psychers, raising several barriers to prevent their thoughts from being read or manipulated. It's unknown exactly how long it takes to create a warrior of the Custodes, and mortality rates are speculated to be fairly high. But if they survive, they become one of the greatest warriors to ever exist within the Imperium. they will also be gifted a new name, which will be but a single sobriquet. However, as a custodian accomplishes various deeds and undertakes great and noble actions, they will add more and more to their name, which will then be inscribed within their armour. The greatest warriors of the Custodes have names that are so long that the inscription extends to their armour's exterior, marking the gold of their warplate with countless rows of cuneiform scripture.
Still I fight, and so shall I always, for my debt to the Emperor shall never be paid.
While all members of the Custodes are highly skilled warriors, the 300 greatest amongst them will be selected by the current Captain General to stand sentinel within the throne room of the Imperial Palace to stand watch over the body of the Emperor himself. These warriors are known as the Companions, and any warrior of the Custodes, regardless of their rank or experience, can be selected for this purpose. To be a companion is draining both physically and spiritually, for they stand within the presence of the Master of Mankind, whose power is so great that its radiance will scorch the golden armour of the Custodians over time. The Companions also remain prepared for battle at a fraction of a second's notice, ready to spring into action to defend their Lord and Master. A companion does not remain as one forever, and when the Captain General witnesses exhaustion overcoming one of these warriors, they will be rotated out in order to rest and recuperate. The warriors who are rotated out will feel no dishonour upon them for this act, however. The longest period of time that a custodian has remained a companion was no more than a single century. Those Custodes who have served as a member of the Companions will frequently find themselves as members of the Aquilan Shields, who will be tasked as serving as bodyguards to the High Lords of Terror, as well as other high-ranking members of the Imperium. The Custodes themselves view this as little more than an extension of their vow towards protecting and serving the Emperor, as the High Lords of Terror rule the Imperium in his name. Yet a custodian does not remain as one of the 10,000 forever. When a custodian deems himself as unfit to continue his duties, due to his reflexes and cognitive abilities slowly eroding, for example, they will relinquish their weapons and armour to the Hall of Armaments and leave the Brotherhood of the Custodes in a self-imposed exile. Yet despite being exiles, these men are still loyal to Terra and the Emperor, and will begin acting as informants and intelligence gatherers for the Custodes. These men become known as the Eyes of the Emperor, and whenever they encounter plots against the throne world, they will relay such information to their former brothers-in-arms so that they may be ready for any eventual possibility.
Wisdom is the beginning of fear.
Prior to the return of the Primarch Rebute Gilliman, the Custodes rarely, if ever, left the confines of the Imperial Palace, acting as its standing defensive army. But this was not to say that they were complacent in honing their skills. To keep the warriors of the 10,000 up to par and keep their wits and skills razor sharp, the Custodes hold regular events known as the Blood Games. These games seek to test the defensive measures of the Imperial Palace, and have been an instrumental part of custodian duties since before the time of the Horus Heresy. The games usually involve tasking a member of the Custodes with infiltrating the Imperial Palace, and to reach a specific point within it, pantomiming the role of a would-be enemy or assassin who would wish harm upon the Emperor. These games can last anywhere from a few days up to several decades, depending upon the individual skill of those acting as the enemy. This way, the Custodes can prepare against any form of offence, and reinforce areas that are deemed weak. Sometimes, a specialized corps of soldiers is even tasked with capturing enemies and setting them loose within the Imperial Palace, so that the Custodians can hunt them down and slay them, keeping their killer instincts and combat skills honed to a razor's edge. This prey that is brought in to be slain can range from renegade soldiers of the Astra Militarum, Xenos, or even Chaos Space Marines.
The greatest man is but a ripple on the surface of space.
The Custodes are equipped with some of the finest weapons and armor within the entire Imperium, as befitting the personal bodyguards of the Emperor. Much like the Adeptus Astartes, they are gifted with power armor, Terminator armor, and dreadnoughts, but of much higher quality when compared to the Astartes variants. They even boast some of the last remaining examples of Imperial jet bike technology within their armory. Prior to the inception of Rabute Guilliman's Indomitus Crusade, the Custodes would face their first conflicts within many thousands of years. The first of these was to reinforce the Primarch upon Luna, Terra's moon, where he and those Imperial forces who had followed him battled against the Thousand Suns traitor legion led by the demon Primarch Magnus the Red. Shortly thereafter, those Custodes who still remained upon Terra stood firm against a mass demonic incursion that assaulted the Imperial Palace. After driving off both enemy forces, Guilliman would commune with the Emperor within the throne room for many days and nights before emerging. He would then meet with the Captain General and leader of the Custodes, Trajan Valoris. Valoris came to the realization that the Custodes could no longer stand idly by, and so he would begin launching a series of crusades, sending the warriors of the 10,000 to strike preemptively against any potential threats to the Emperor and Terra, whilst the warriors of the Companions remained behind to guard the Master of Mankind. Whenever the Custodes march into battle, victory is guaranteed for the Imperium, even if that reason might be due to the fact that it is heresy for the Administratum to record the defeat of the Custodes in battle. And that concludes our brief look on the Adeptus Custodes. If you liked this video, consider supporting us on Patreon for more content. To those who are new to 40k, we hope you learned something. So leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.